21.5 points a game in the tournament so far. They'll go up against a Florida State defense that could be troublesome, Quinn.
Well, it could be troublesome in a couple of ways. One of the things you can be assured of, they will change defenses with Florida State. If Indiana doesn't adjust to that, that means you're talking about turnovers. Florida State needs to get some good play from both Doug Edwards and Sam Cassell. They have been leading them. They need to lead them tonight.
Andrea Joyce is with us as well tonight. You'll be hearing from her on occasion. Here are the starting lineups for the Seminoles. Pat Kennedy runs a three-guard offense, and Bob Sura is in the lineup replacing point guard Charlie Ward, who last week suffered a partially dislocated left shoulder, but he is on the bench and he is available for duty tonight. It had been said that he would see no more action this season. The doctors say that's not so. The officials for tonight's game: Tom Harrington from Chico, California, Frank Bassoni from Bellevue, Maryland, Lynn Shortnessy from Duncanville, Texas. Number 24, Matt Nover, will jump center for the Hoosiers, who are in white. Florida State's number 34, Rodney Dobard, will jump for the Seminoles. Opening tap to the Seminoles, number 10, Sam Cassell.
Greg, I like Sam Cassell. He came out of junior college as one of the top players in all of junior college. Point guard. He's the one that'll run the show. He's got to get them in their offense.
Offensive rebound up by Edwards.
Oh, my goodness.
And the offensive foul is on 34, Rodney Dobard.
Oh, I mean, he was all over that one. You can see coming out right away that Florida State is going to show a little pressure, and they'll change it up. One time they don't come at you, the next time they will. That forces these young players from Indiana to think their way through the game. As you see a double dribble right there on Chris Reynolds, a little bit of jitters right here at the top.
There is Bob Knight in his 27th season of coaching, his 21st at Indiana, and his 7th straight NCAA tournament. Pat Kennedy of Florida State, his opposite number. Graham, top of the key. Rebound off to the freshman, Alan Henderson.
Those are not the kind of shots that you want to see Florida State take. They need to be a little bit more patient. What Florida State really wants to do is get some shots off the back picks, and that young man right there was left open, Alan Henderson, for a 6'9" freshman. He plays with tremendous composure. The one thing you know about Indiana University, if you get them wide open jump shots, they'll make them. They shoot at a 49% clip.
Alan Henderson scoring 19 points a game in the tournament so far. Cassell.
Oh, that's
up on the rim was number 40. Calbert Cheney, and the basket count.
It's a three-pointer, too. Yeah, Calbert Cheney grabbed that one. Well, the shot goes up, and you'll see it'll hit the rim, and you'll watch, as soon as it goes to the top, watch Calbert Cheney go up, and he'll grab it, and you can see it's right off the rim. It didn't have a chance to move. Fisher right on top of it.
Swarming Florida State defense.
If you move the ball against pressing defenses, you can get yourself good shots, but you must be wise in selection because you allow people to get out and run if you're not.
Graham. Chuck Graham on the baseline.
Both teams scoring the 80s, Greg, so you can be guaranteed the ball will be pushed up.
And a traveling violation against the Hoosiers.
Greg, this is what we were talking about at the top of the show. As you see Bob Knight telling his team, you've got to be prepared for the changes and make the passes to the open man. You can't dribble through a trap.
Indiana got here with victories over Eastern Illinois and Louisiana State. Florida State with wins over Montana and Georgetown.
Psychologically, this is not the same Florida State team that Indiana beat by 22 points last year. You can see Sam Cassell plays with tremendous confidence, as do all his teammates, because they've been through the ACC and they know that they played against this kind of caliber competition already.
Florida State coming off its first season in the ACC, a second-place finish, and Pat Kennedy says that ACC week in and week out helps toughen his team.
Oh, it does, because you know you're playing against Duke. You play them twice. You're playing the best team in the country, North Carolina. You can go down the lineup, and it does make you much better prepared to play in the tournament.
Henderson into the lane, had it rejected by Doug Edwards. This is Sura.
I mean, but that's a great get out off the turnover there for the block shot. Nobody back, but I'm talking about Sura really pushed it up.
That's a backcourt foul on Cassell.
One of the things Indiana isn't doing very well, I don't think, is they're not getting the ball and moving it before the trap gets there. They wait to get trapped. And the thing about Florida State is they cover a lot of territory, very athletic, and they know the angles. They've been playing this zone very well for a long time. They're in a 1-3-1 zone, trying to force a shot.
Make sure you don't get out of bounds.
Make sure you don't get shots on the wing. You go 1-3-1 because that's where Calvert Chaney has been, on the wing.
First substitution of the game, Greg Graham into the lineup for Indiana, replacing Damon Bailey, and now Jamal Meeks, number 23, onto the floor for Chris Reynolds.
I think Jamal Meeks is going to be a key. He's the senior who had started. Bob Knight decided to get him out of the lineup. He wanted more leadership from Meeks. He didn't get it, but Meeks is the kind of player that can handle the basketball.
Meeks for Graham. Rebound off to Henderson, and Indiana will start it all over again.
The tough part about playing a zone is that you don't get yourself in a position to block.
That's an offensive foul on Alan Henderson.
And that's a sign of impatience, because Alan Henderson is on the baseline on a 1-3-1. You've got one guy chasing on the baseline. If you're patient, you can get a 12 to 14-foot shot without having to go to the basket. That time Henderson was out of control and got himself a foul.
Alan Henderson goes to the bench. 32, Eric Anderson, a 6'9" senior from Chicago, into the lineup.
Greg, anybody who has watched Indiana play for any period of time knows Indiana has always been a slow starting team. They're the kind of team that can get down, as they are now, 9-2. But once they get on a spurt in scoring, they can go on runs of like 12-2 as well. I like this kid with this basketball. I mean, he is really clever.
Cassell off the baseline, missed everything, tapped out of bounds, and Florida State has
a little too clever on that one. But I do like him. He's got some great ball handling skills. The question is about the 45-second clock. It got reset, and it shouldn't have, because there was no change of possession, and the ball did not hit the rim.
And Bob Knight quick to bring it to the attention of the officials.
They've set it back to about 34, which is about right.
And now it'll be explained to Pat Kennedy. Speaking of Bob Knight, he's had his share of criticism, which is nothing new, but it came as a result of canceling the well, let's take a look now at the shot clock.
Well, we should be able to see the clock as the ball goes by. You can see it says 15 seconds right there. Oh, the officials, they blew this one. There was definitely 15 seconds on the clock as that one went over, but they don't have the luxury of having to use the shot clock here.
Sura open for three. And a foul committed by Jamal Meeks, reaching in on 34, Rodney Gobard.
If you're going to play defense and force people to do shoot jump shots, the one thing you can ill afford to have, one, is an offensive rebound, and then you can't foul people once they get it.
15:52 to play, first half.
Customers demand.
Mentioned Charlie Ward's shoulder injury. Well, the Florida State Athletic Department doctor made a special trip to Albuquerque just to check out Charlie Ward's shoulder. Once it was determined he had no pain and full range of motion, he gave him the okay to play. And I talked to Coach Pat Kennedy just a few minutes before the game. He says he will not hesitate to Ward if he needs him. Back to you, Greg.
Andrea, thank you. I'll tell you who else is an interested onlooker is Florida State football coach Bobby Bowden, because that's his potential quarterback next year.
Well, you know he's got to be a great player, Charlie Ward, if you're going to be a potential starting quarterback with the Seminoles, because they have great quarterbacks coming out of that program.
Eric Anderson open.
That's the kind of shot that Eric Anderson can hit. He's had some trouble this year at Indiana. Part of the problem, I think, is he's played the post position for 3 years. He's been moved back to his natural position facing the basket, and has had trouble getting back to his original position. Oh, great anticipation, yes!
Cassell to Doug Edwards.
Got a 2-1-2 press.
It's 11-4, Florida State.
2-1-2 into a 2-3.
Anderson open, and it's the three. So Eric Anderson with 2 quick buckets, 5 quick points for Indiana, and it's 11-7.
Now, Eric Anderson can shoot the three. The other person that now probably can get available is Calvert Chaney. So if I'm Florida State, I'm trying to keep an eye on where Calvert Chaney is next, because you know he'll try to get the offensive flow.
Sura will set up Graham. And that three-pointer puts Florida State back up 14-7.
Now, folks, both of these teams score in the 80s. So they will get the shots up. You don't have to worry about that. Good timeout called.
Jamal Meeks called it quickly before going out of bounds. We have 14:23 to play, and the Seminoles lead it by 7. We'll come right back to the pit in a moment.
Left in the first half, I'm joined here by Mike Francesa and Bill Raftery. We're keeping our eye on the other game for you out in the East in Philadelphia, UMass and Kentucky. And fellas, Kentucky all over it.
It's been all Kentucky, Pat. 29 points inside, and Raf Calipari told us, John Calipari, that they were going to play a man-to-man inside, guard Kentucky on the perimeter, and it's really backfired in the first half.
They just haven't been able to cope with the low post defense. And the other point that he mentioned to both of us, he was going to
seven shot well, and right now they need to hold their composure in the last 5 minutes of this first half. They're in trouble.
And Michael, how about the pot have a choice?
Indiana has now closed it to 4, 14-10 Florida State.
And here, Indiana got off very poorly, Pat. 4 turnovers early, 1 for 5 from the floor. Looked like they had a little trouble, Raf, with Florida State's 1-3-1.
A lot of people don't like to play 2-3 against Bobby Knight, but 1-3-1, you make them kick it around the perimeter and question, or at least their judgment is questionable on jump shots.
Also, the athleticism, Pat, of Florida State is key in this game. Indiana has trouble on the boards with this kind of team. But remember last year, after a bad start, they blew Florida State out.
We are not really couch potatoes, we are studio potatoes, and we'll be here all night to watch the games for you. Back to Greg and Quinn at courtside.
All right, Pat, Greg Graham with a three-pointer, and then Alan Henderson on a nice feed from outside, and Indiana is within 2 at 14-12, and we have 13 minutes, 10 seconds to play in the first half.
But Greg, all of a sudden it seemed as though Indiana became more patient offensively, and they were able to get the ball where they're most effective. But in the recent timeout or exchange of players, the guy we talked about, Charlie Ward, came in the game. You've got to watch him. Very disruptive on the defensive end, and he'll be able to create some offense by his ability to get some turnovers.
Charlie Ward is wearing number 12 for FSU. That one batted out of bounds and belongs to Indiana.
Again, Indiana and Jamal Meeks being the point guard must recognize the change of defense, because Florida State has come back, gone to man-to-man. That means you need to be patient, use your back screens.
Henderson.
That's a tough move for a young freshman.
And we're tied at 14. Here is Ward. Coaching staff said they worked him out again this afternoon, and there isn't anything on the court that Ward cannot do.
Greg, you know, being a football player is an advantage to this young man, because I'll tell you why. As you see a very nice drop step right there coming by Reed, because they are typically just tougher than your natural basketball players, because they're used to getting knocked around all the time.
Anderson bumped and got it back out front. Henderson, Anderson, Chaney, Greg Graham, and Jamal Meeks on the floor for Indiana now. Shot clock at 20. Anderson steps inside his man and hits the jumper. Eric Anderson off to a good start tonight.
It really has. They put him and Meeks on the bench. Didn't think they were getting the leadership they needed. Anderson has been playing. He knows that this potentially is the last game he can play for Indiana, playing like a man that has a mission out here. You got to guard this kid. You got to guard this kid. I really like him. For a freshman, he's got some real heart.
Bob Sura, the ACC Freshman of the Year. Pat Kennedy calls him a diamond in the rough. Whistle underneath goes against Indiana.
Sometimes you get shots that are just too wide open. That time, that's where Eric Anderson was.
At the conclusion of every NCAA tournament game, we'll select who committed his second personal.
And that can turn out to be crucial, because what Indiana loses when Alan Henderson goes out of the game, they have nobody that can offensive rebound like Henderson.
The basket counts.
They're counting the basket. And they were calling a foul if the shot had come off on Reed, but the basket went in. The official felt it was a no call.
Quinn, I don't understand why that negates the foul.
Well, I thought it was a foul too, but the official just felt that there was really no play to be called.
Meeks ditching for Anderson.
But it was a sweet little fake like the give and go. He just hung on to it.
21-18, Florida State.
The Florida State on the offensive end wants to try to use a little of Indiana's kind of play. They want to get something off the screens, be it cross screens, back screens. When I was talking to Tom Carlson, their assistant coach, that's what they want to do. That's a travel.
Andre Reed with the travel moving inside, and now number 4, Chuck Graham, comes back into Florida State's lineup, replacing Bob Sura. So now Florida State has Cassell and Ward along with Graham, their 3-guard offense, and Andre Reed and Doug Edwards up front.
Well, that's what makes this team such a good club, Florida State. They can come off the bench with some guys and not lose any quickness as they have right here with Ward, Graham, and Cassell in the game.
Anderson again. Eric Anderson is drilling it tonight, and he has 11 points.
Somebody's got to get out there and put a hand in his face because. Or no, better yet, leave him open. The best one he missed was he was wide open, as a matter of fact.
Reed. And that foul goes against Jamal Meeks. And Jamal Meeks is trying to figure out how he was guilty of a foul on that play.
Well, the play occurred so late that I think that's one of the reasons he wanted to know. Watch the ball go in. Now, he's got both hands in his back right here. And then there's contact. I think the official probably could go in any way he wanted to go. He called it on Jamal. Probably better Jamal than giving it to, you had Alan Henderson in the mix there. He has 2 fouls.
That's 2 on Meeks. And that'll send Andre Reed to the free throw line, where he has shot 47% on the season. 46.
You and that new math again. Add it up for me real quick. But I tell you what, this young man has got some tools. He's 7 feet, 250. He's big. He's starting to get his footwork down.
And a rebound by Graham.
Just 3 seconds, or they got him to
traveling violation on Edwards. And Rodney Dobard back in for the Seminoles.
Well, you know Dobard comes in. He'll be patrolling the middle. That's what he does. He's a shot blocker on the team.
Indiana going with Henderson, Anderson, Greg Graham, Jamal Meeks, and Damon Bailey. Meeks, Henderson, and he's fouled by Edwards.
What you get when you press is that you end up with 2 people guarding 1. And what happened that time, Jamal Meeks is left alone. Now watch him again draw another man, and then drawing him right away. You know Dobard is coming to block the shot. Henderson takes it up strong. The official makes the appropriate call, but that's how you take it to the basket. Against a press, you should always attack to score.
2 personals on Rodney Dobard. Alan Henderson, you mentioned this before, Quinn. Such poise for a freshman.
The young man just comes to work. When you talk to the coaching staff at Indiana, they said for a freshman who's had a lot of good things happen to him, and some of us can be a little spoiled when you're really good. This kid is really good and just works as hard as anybody.
Indiana with the 1-point lead. Dobard fouled by Anderson after Bailey made the diving save.
The intent is the right thing to do, but there's no question about the foul. Anderson looked like he got a little chin. He's got a little cut on himself. That's what you call leaving it on the floor.
Ward is out. Sura is back in.
I'll tell you what, and it's really important that Ward can play, because when you get this kind of tempo, it's going to be tough to keep the 3 guards out there for any prolonged period of time. Ward's present, whether he scores or not, gives them another guy to come off the bench and probably give fouls, but particularly give a breather.
He's good for their psyche, too, to show up and be able to play today.
Yes, because he's a warrior. He's as tough as anybody they have on the team. And I'm telling you, being a football player makes a ton of difference, because if you can't take a knot of a 6'8", 300-pound lineman coming after you, surely can't be out here playing against some of the guys in this league.
Edwards partially blocked in the lane, and here come the Hoosiers. 3-on-1, and Graham will go to the line.
Yeah, that's Dobard's 3rd foul. caught the guards flat, down on the baseline, pushed the ball up, and Dobart was the guy trying to protect. Got himself caught. You got to get him out of the game.
And here comes Byron Wells, a 6'10 junior from Tampa.
He may not give you as much as Dobart will. Dobart, a good defensive player, but Byron Wells does know how to play. He can go inside, outside, understands the game. They lose some in rebounding and shot blocking, but they gain in other aspects. Should the game stay close, where you've got to see what will happen is in the foul shooting area, because Indiana is a 72% foul shooting team, and you look at Florida State, they're 66% foul shooting team. So as the game stays close, you got to wonder how foul shooting will come in the game.
Indiana by 3 as we approach 8:50 to play in the first half. Edwards inside, draws the foul from Henderson.
That's his third.
And that's 3 on Alan Henderson.
I tell you what, this young man, Edwards, can play. I mean, and he can play with anybody. Quick feet, strong. I like this guy's game.
Calbert Chaney in, Henderson to the bench.
2 shots, 2.
You see a little bit of a frustration of the young freshman there being talked to by Norm Ellenberger, who was once the head coach here at New Mexico. Came in for practice, got a big applause when he walked in, like he was still the coach.
Crowd favorite, you bet. Edwards gets them both and gets Florida State to within 1 of Indiana. 8:45, first half. Cassell going for the steal, but it'll belong to Indiana.
Well, you can see right here, he'll just get his hands on the basketball and then try to protect it, and he knocks it in. But they call it, everybody, who was it? Right here. Oh, it's clearly his foot is out of bounds. There's no question Cassell was out of bounds.
Cassell creating havoc on the Indiana guard.
Well, the one thing that happens is that they've changed defenses again. If you don't recognize it, then you don't know where the opening spots are going to be.
And that's out of bounds. They create the turnover, and here comes Florida State.
Well, that's what I was talking about, Indiana adjusting to the changing defenses. One time they come at you at man-to-man. One time 1-3-1. That time kind of a 1-2-2. They will trap you in different places. It's the point guard's responsibility to recognize that.
We are coming up on 8 minutes to play here in the first half. Indiana leading at 24-23. Hoosiers, as they usually do, started slowly, but they were able to pick it up behind the shooting of Eric Anderson, and here they come again, 2-on-1. Beautiful pass back to Damon Bailey.
And they've been able to get some plays like that where they can push the ball up, take advantage of some of their opportunities, but they've shot the ball well, which Indiana absolutely has to do to be successful.
And good defensive play on Cassell by Greg Graham. We have a timeout with 7:42 to play. Indiana's fast break coming right at you. Hit here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Game 1 of the West Region semifinals. Indiana leading Florida State 26-23. Greg Gumbel along with Quinn Buckner and Andrea Joyce. Eric Anderson has been the shooting inspiration for Indiana so far. And Indiana has been a hot shooting team in the tournament so far, Quinn.
Well, they really have shot the ball well. And when Indiana shoots it well, they're difficult to beat. But they've been able to get the wide open shots and take advantage of the press. When they don't do that, Florida State maintains the control, keeps it more up-tempo the way Florida State would like to have it. This is the guy that can be trouble, I think, for Indiana is Edwards.
Loose ball picked off by Indiana. And the foul, that'll be on Cassell.
Well, I see Cassell's got a little frustration because he thought he could get away with that. I thought Indiana was lucky there because you're standing with 3 guys around you, none of them with your shirt on. You don't put it on the ground. You protect yourself, look for someone to pass it to.
Women's final score, Vanderbilt a winner, and Western Kentucky as well over number 1, Lady Vols of Tennessee. Greg Graham, 3-pointer, and Wells has the loose ball.
Well, that's one of the places where Wells gets that. You've got a shot with having Henderson there. But what Indiana's doing is getting impatient, and I think Florida State is playing very good defense. They're changing their defense up, and I don't think Indiana's doing quite as good job as recognizing as they normally do.
Edwards working his way in, and a nice feed for Wells.
A great play. I mean, and Indiana makes a mistake, but Edwards makes a good play. You don't let people dribble the ball 3 times in the paint without somebody doubling them. You see what Edwards can do with it, given time to make a decision.
And during the timeout, Eric Anderson has had that cut on his chin. Bandage. Bailey shot way off, and the Hoosiers retain possession.
You see, going back to a 2-3 defense, and when you get that, the shot that you can get is the one that Greg Graham can have. It's the one at the top of the key.
Cheney on the baseline, got it.
Well, that's the guy that, if he gets on track, he'll make it miserable for you because he is a streaky shooter.
Calvert Cheney's first 2 points of the night. 28-25, Hoosiers by 3. Greg Graham open. And Cheney has the rebound, and here come the Hoosiers again. Personal fouls we will keep an eye on. Could be a key because each team has a key player with 3 personals on him already. Graham's shot is off, and it's back out to Meeks.
You see what Florida State is in that zone. They're having some trouble getting to people, and what they're allowing is Indiana to get a second shot.
Bailey, pass inside, taken away. Cassell. Outside to Sura. Oh, look at the change of direction by Sura.
They said this kid couldn't play, and very few people recruited him, but he definitely can play, and he's got heart.
He's got 7 points, too. 28-27, Indiana by 1. Cheney for 3. Anderson got inside his man, and Byron Wells had to foul him.
Well, this is why he was the ACC Rookie of the Year. Watch this. The changeup just freezes Cheney, smart enough to pull up before Meeks gets there, finds the twine. The young man plays. I'm telling you, Greg, I like this guy's heart.
Pat Kennedy told us that his old coach at King's College, Ed Donahue, tipped him off, and he calls Bobby Sura fearless.
He is fearless. He comes from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. That is an area where people are, they enjoy life. It's a tough area. So this young man knows how to get in there and mix it up, and he can take all the punishment and give it out and give you some good results.
Sura, 6'5", freshman.
Greg, he put a move on just goofing around yesterday that I haven't seen many players make. On one side of the basket, was able to get his arm to the other and just flick it up with the back of his hand almost, and it was an incredible shot for anybody, no less a freshman.
Indiana by 3, 4:45 to play for the half. Sura, Graham, and Charlie Ward back in the lineup for Florida State. And there's another turnover by Florida State.
And that was good defensive transition by Florida State, finding Calvert Cheney because he was the man that was open and Ward found him.
Anderson again for 3. And Karen Knight, the wife of head coach Bob Knight, enjoys it as much as any IU fan does.
Yeah, she's a former basketball coach, so she not only enjoys it, she does a little analytical work and talks to coach about it periodically.
Eric Anderson has 16 of Indiana's 33 points. Sura, 3-pointer. And Sura commits that foul in the backcourt.
Now, that one was more like a freshman foul out of frustration because Sura missed that shot, and then he tried to come back. And I know Coach Kennedy would like his young man to be, you like the spirit, but it's got to be tempered in games like this.
That's 2 personals on Sura. Andre Reed into the lineup for FSU, replacing Byron Wells.
And I think that's a great move on the part of Pat Kennedy because all of a sudden Indiana was getting all the rebounds. They picked up 2 offensive rebounds. They started getting everything on the defensive end. All of a sudden Florida State was getting 1 shot and they were out.
Graham's free throw off the mark. 3:50 to play here in the first half.
I call that one a brick. You call it off the mark. We will disagree. This is a tough matchup for Indiana because Reed is just too big and strong for anybody by themselves to guard, no less Eric Anderson, who just picked up that foul.
That's number 2 on Anderson.
You talk about a big body. I'm telling you, this young man has got some potential. Watch him. First of all, he gets good position right there. Eric Anderson tries to get a knee under him and then back him out. And the official saw him try to put the knee under, makes the good call. Eric Anderson can't believe it.
Come on, already have a cut in my chin. What do you want? Andre Reed, 0 for 2 from the line so far. 0 for 3, and almost a tip in. The follow is good by Doug Edwards.
That's because you don't block out. Chaney had position. Florida State got in, tipped the ball loose, and then was able to put it back down. Now, Indiana, this is when you recognize the defense. You pass it a couple times, see if your man goes through with it. If he doesn't, then you know that the team you're playing, the opposition, is in a zone. If he does, then they're in the man-to-man, which is exactly what Florida State was in.
Got the shot, and Chris Reynolds just missed it. Cassell, top of the key. And the whistle blows, the foul is on Anderson.
No, I think they call that one on Reed.
No, it is on Reed.
Yeah, he tried to establish a little extra position, even though Reed had good position. And that's exactly what Pat Kennedy is telling his team. Hold your position, stop fouling, because Reed had position. All he had to do was go straight up for the basketball.
Quinn, I'll tell you what happened. I thought Eric Anderson was raising his hand after the whistle had blown. He was just ripping that bandage off his chin.
You know, it's funny how something like that seems to get in your way. But when you're accustomed to playing with no bandages, wristbands, something like that can just bother you just enough to say, I think I can do without that.
Anderson has 17 points, half of Indiana's. Here comes Cassell. And Graham tried to get it in the middle and just threw it away. The lead for Reynolds.
Oh, good stop. Great. Oh, I thought he had one.
Cassell over Damon Bailey and committed the foul.
Well, the pass was thrown way out in front, so I didn't think there was any chance that Chris Reynolds could get to it. But you see, he gets to it. Now, the question is, does he take a couple extra steps here? All right, he gets it. 1, 2. Let's see the little tap dance there. But here comes Cassell for the hammer. There's some contact there.
And now Pat Kennedy has another problem. It's 3 on Sam Cassell.
Well, that's the one guy I thought that Florida State could ill afford to lose, because what that's going to force them to do is the play, as you see a shooter's touch go for Damon Bailey, Charlie Ward more than they would like to. I mean, he really hadn't played that much, so the question is whether or not he can be able to withstand or being winded, as you see Eric Anderson going up to the locker room, I'm sure, to get that cut looked at.
Maybe a stitch or two. 35-29. Indiana with 2:40 to play. All the way across to Sura and then Ward. Graham. Gets tremendous height on his jump shot.
But that was a great sequence of basketball for Florida State, or for any team, because they just stayed patient, moved with the basketball, and got themselves in position to score.
Blocked from behind and fouled from behind is Matt Nova.
And I thought Nova got away with a walk on that one. And that's what Pat Kennedy is saying. Hey, watch, he gets the ball. Now watch him take a step. He's got position. Now he takes a step.
And then drags in his pivot foot.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Pat Kennedy is saying.
That's number 2 on Andre Reed.
Well, they can ill afford to get another big man in trouble, because they now have Dovart sitting on the sideline with 2 fouls. So they can't afford to do that. They had Wells in, and he wasn't able to give them what they needed.
Matt Nover, a 6'8 junior. How about Eric Anderson, who has averaged 12.5 points in his first 2 games? He's in the locker room now with 17 points. Indiana with 37, and they lead by 6.
Brian, in New York, you've heard of the road to the Final Four. That's the corridor to the pit, where Indiana leads Florida State 37-31. We're going to keep an eye on that game. Mike Francesa and Bill Raftery are with me in New York City, eyeing UMass and Kentucky out in Philadelphia.
And Pat, a 21-point first half Kentucky lead is now 6 points. UMass got back into the game last 5 minutes, Raf. They got inside, really settled down, and now Kentucky has the ball, but only up 6.
Kentucky in white, by the way, Bill.
Well, thank you very much for helping me out, Pat. I just think that the defense is the key for Massachusetts. How are they going to play Mashburn? Initially, they played behind. They addressed that by three-quartering and getting some assistance. I think that's important for them.
And they have really settled down, Pat. That has really been a key. Last 5 minutes started getting their shots. Shot 28% in the first 13 minutes. Turned the ball over. Mashburn killed them inside. But UMass has settled down, and right now they are back in this ballgame. They were really faced with the knockout punch in the first half, and they have responded very well.
And we're going to have a big taste of this at halftime, as well as an update on Mike Tyson's situation. Let's go back now to Albuquerque and GQ, Greg and Quinn.
All right, Pat, thanks very much. He's got a way with alphabet, doesn't he?
Oh, my, he does.
Indiana by 6 with minute 34 to play here in the first half, and Damon Bailey at the line trying to complete a three-point play. And Indiana just eating Florida State alive at the free throw line.
Indiana has typically been able to get to the foul line. They remain patient and get the ball inside, and they will take it to the defense, and then it forces an official to make a call. And obviously, with Indiana getting as many foul shots, they get a number. They just got Reed for his third. That's the third foul on Reed. Now you got Reed and Dobart with fouls here. With a minute 19, Pat Kennedy's got a decision to make to leave him in.
And Sam Cassell in the backcourt with 3. And number 21, Chris Reynolds, who only shoots 56% from the line, looking for his first point.
It looked familiar, Greg. It looked like mine.
Reed with the board. Byron Wells standing by to come back in on the next whistle.
Well, the guy that's got to carry the load for Florida State has got to be Edwards. So they've got to do some kind of job to get him involved in the game. I know Graham wants to try to get it going. You see
Edwards with the follow.
He's too quick and strong to be held down, and he's the only guy that's got himself not in significant foul trouble. Oh, my goodness. Where was he going?
Here goes the track meet. Graham out of control and the offensive foul.
Well, you called it right. It became a track meet. And then instead of Graham, who is a very good jumper, going straight up, he tried to go to the basket. And that's what Pat Kennedy is telling him. Pass to the open man, because if he does that, he gets it back, possibly gets a dunk.
Graham tried switching to the left hand on the way to the basket, but didn't get the job done. 40-35, Indiana.
They'll hold for one shot, because the time you see on your screen is the time in the game. Now, what they would like to do is get the ball into Calvert Chaney's hand. He's been guarded by Byron Wells. That's a situation where I think you want to get him the basketball and make him beat you one-on-one. Actually, they're playing a 1-3-1. And I guarantee you, they'll find Calvert Chaney.
Chaney now moving down toward the baseline.
Because that's the one place you can get a shot in a 1-3-1 zone is on the baseline.
That one out of bounds off of Nover, and Florida State will have a shot with 8.7 to play.
Well, that was just poor ball handling right there. You had a chance to, there were two people in the corner that he had a chance to go to.
Here comes Ward.
Good draw.
Wells for 3.
And that's good for your confidence going in.
And Edwards, that shot doesn't go. Take one more look at Byron Wells.
Well, the play is made by Ward, because once the defense come to help, you see inside is Nova. There's no way for him to get back out. And I said Byron Wells is inside and outside. That's knocking it down from the outside.
That's the end of the first half with the score, Indiana 40, Florida State 38. And CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
So they're down in terms of shooting foul shots because they made 3 more shots from the field and 1 extra 3-pointer. So that's the difference in the 9 points in terms of the foul shooting on both teams' part. But I still think that's going to be a factor.
Indiana 23-2 with leading at halftime. Damon Bailey's 3-pointer doesn't go, and the follow doesn't fall for Eric Anderson. Here comes Cassell leading the Seminoles. And he's gonna, it looked like he was gonna put it up, try to feed down low, and it's out of bounds to Indiana.
Sometimes when you look as though you're going to put it up, if a guy hasn't played with you a long time like Cassell hasn't with some of his teammates, they forget that he may be ready to pass the basketball as he was that time. That's why it gets thrown out of bounds.
Florida State with its 2nd ever trip to the Sweet 16.
You see Florida State is in their 1-3-1. They know that that's the way to keep the ball off the wings, but what they've got to be aware of, both Calvert Chaney and Eric Anderson are in the corners.
Anderson. Oh, Chaney. Tough rebound. Woo! The high bounce caused Sura to mistime his jump, and Chaney came over the top to grab.
To get that rebound and not foul was the most amazing thing, but you're right, the high bounce did cause the mistiming by Sura. That's where they've got to go with the basketball to Florida State, because I don't think Indiana really can handle Edwards at all.
Bailey leading the charge, off to the wing, Graham misses. And up ahead for Dobard. And that foul shot would have counted if it had gone, but Dobard will go to the line. The foul is on Damon Bailey.
Well, you've got to maintain position on a man. Now watch this shot. It goes to the side you would expect. Now watch it take like an extra bounce, and you can see Sura was up. Calvert Chaney able to come up with it and get the finish. Dobard with 3 fouls could not afford to foul, and Chaney was able to get it down.
Dobard to shoot 2. The cheers here in the arena are for the Aggies of New Mexico State as Dobard misses his first, who will play game 2 against top seed UCLA.
Look, Crawford in there, kind of hard to find. He's a little bitty soul, but I guarantee you, when game time shows up, he'll be there.
Dobard missed them both. 42-38, Indiana. Graham, Jamal Meeks, Damon Bailey, Eric Anderson, and Calvert Chaney on the floor now for Indiana.
I think Damon Bailey is a guy that he's going to get that shot. He's going to have to start making that one.
Meeks.
He's able to knock down the 3 because the zones are moving to one side. They get so conscious of the ball that they leave the weak side open. Damon Bailey had been left open on the one time, and that time it was Jamal Meeks, but Bailey is better apt to make that shot, though that Meeks is a senior with more confidence.
Pass down low, picked off by Anderson, and here comes Chaney.
You can't make that pass from the top. That's a bad decision.
On offense.
Got to find a way to start penetrating the defenses because you'll get all the shots you want.
Bailey back up top.
Oh, good fake. Nice play.
Sets up Graham for the 3.
That is a point guard play. Pat Kennedy cannot take this. He's got to slow it down, and he's trying to get his team to call a timeout.
17:08 to play. Indiana by 10.
Come out and he'll get ball faked right here, and he'll get going right out of here, and he never recovers because what happens after that is then you go by and Seward didn't recover in time. Greg Graham knocks down the 3. That caused the timeout.
10-point lead for Indiana. Graham, Cassell, and Sura going to put up the 3 right there, and that's short.
That's a big miss, Greg, and I'll tell you why. Indiana had decided to double to make sure when Edwards gets the ball that there's somebody double teaming. It had been Greg Graham. Now, Greg Graham was guarding Seward. You've got to make that shot, or else Graham is going to be able to cause too many problems for Edwards down on the block double team.
Chuck Graham just drew his 3rd personal, and Charlie Ward comes onto the floor for him. That is 4 Florida State players now with 3 personals.
And the way Indiana sets picks and the way you have to fight through them, it leaves Florida State susceptible to getting another foul.
Chaney, nice find on the baseline, and Graham missed it.
It was a great find, but you've got to finish the play.
Sura can't find room on the baseline. Boy, Ward down the lane. There's his first shot.
They got numbers. Oh, boy, I'm telling you. Ooh, I thought Ward had a pick there.
Ward coming up from behind has been called for the foul.
But it's a good foul. It's a good foul. And I'll tell you why. You see Ward takes it. He gets away with a little bit. No, not an offensive foul, but he gets it up. Now, when they come out on it, Ward gets his hand on the ball. But if he doesn't, Indiana had two guys up front. So this is not a bad foul for Florida State.
If it was a foul, I agree with you. I still don't see where the foul was. Cheney got it.
Man-to-man defense here is tough to handle. You got to run two people at it.
Tennessee, the defending women's basketball champion, will not repeat this year. Greg Cassell hits the three. Sam Cassell, excuse me. Anderson in the lane.
And they cannot let them get the ball that close to the basket, because if you do, Florida State can't get enough help down there in time.
Anderson, 19 points. Cassell again.
Yeah, see, he can go, Greg. I'm telling you, if he wants to turn it on, he's the guy that can make it happen. That's why if Indiana wants to have any success, Cassell is a guy to be concerned about in addition to Roberts. You see him coming out in a 1-2-1-1 trap.
He had 23 against Montana, 19 against Georgetown. And on the move to the basket inside, Greg Graham is fouled. And that foul is on Doug Edwards. Indiana, Florida State playing this one. UCLA against 12th seed New Mexico State. Still to come.
Well, Greg, it's never happened before where the 12th seed is beating the number 1 seed. But New Mexico State here playing in New Mexico, you can be guaranteed they'll have a following here. We'll see how much of effect that has on the Aggies.
The Aggies, the highest remaining seed in the tournament.
You look at the Florida State defense, and that last time down the court, I didn't see the kind of movement they need to have. The real strength of Florida State, Pat Kennedy and Coach Williamson over there talking about it, is their ability to cover the court. They play that trapping defense, but they cover all angles. They did not do that the last 2 times down the court.
Indiana's lead is 11. These teams met in last year's tournament, and Indiana eliminated Florida State. Edwards. Back come the Hoosiers. Jamal Meeks wide open, but missed the shot. Sura picks off the rebound.
That's a shot that they want to get, but that's too quick to get it. There's Indiana.
That one out of bounds to Indiana.
That was just the loss of the ball there by Dobart. He just had it, couldn't grip it, and lost it right out of bounds. This is a pace more conducive to Indiana. If they can play it at this pace, they're better off. They're more of a control break team, where Florida State wants to just get it out and push, push, push. Indiana wants 5 to 6 passes if they can.
Betwixt and between, and Greg Graham watched the ball sail past him out of bounds.
He was standing wide open, and Bob Knight knows that those are the kind of turnovers you can ill afford to have. That's an unforced turnover. No pressure, just throw the ball out of bounds. Lack of communication. Dobart having some trouble. Byron Wells comes in for him.
7th turnover for Indiana in the game. Florida State has 9. Wells hit the big 3 at the close of the first half. Sura for 3.
He should have got 4 if he makes that one. That was a long shot. Oh,
Graham wins the race with a loose ball.
Please. I mean, I wanted to see a little bit of a race there, but Ward went down.
Graham has 12. And that almost out of bounds, saved by Cassell.
But the ball handling is getting sloppy on the part of Florida State.
Take another look at Greg Graham going after this ball in a hurry.
That's the tip that gets him the ball right there. And I just wanted to see 2 guys run after it. You know Ward can run. But I think if we were concerned about it,
they didn't concentrate on what was going on the floor and probably had thoughts of that technique.
Albuquerque, 63-48 to score Indiana up on top. Let's go back to Greg and Quinn courtside.
All right, Pat, 11:36 to play in the game, and Charlie Ward at the free throw line. And a timeout on the floor with 11:36 remaining and Indiana on a roll. .36 to play. Eric Anderson has led the way. He is within 8 points of his career high 30, and that foul situation beginning to creep up on Florida State University.
The fouls are definitely going to be a problem they've got to reckon with. For Indiana, that means if you take it to the basket, you saw what the foul discrepancy was at halftime. That would be something that would work to their favor here in the second half.
Chris Reynolds back on the floor for Indiana now.
This is a man-to-man defense.
Chaney had it rejected as he tried to go around his man, and Indiana keeps possession.
But they have to remember, Greg, they don't get a new set on the 45-second clock. They have 22 seconds to still get it on the rim.
Damon Bailey. And Bailey playing the position at that point that he did in his high school days.
So he can play there. He was a center in high school, and that's what the adjustment for him. That's why it's been so difficult, because he is 2 positions removed from where he played 4 years in high school.
Great. Rebounded.
Edwards gets a 2-point play,
and he'll go to the line. Foul is on Anderson. Let's take another look at Damon Bailey playing with his back to the basket for a change.
Well, that's where he's at his best. He's strong and he's quick, and you see he's still able to get the shot up and in. And then Florida State able to pound the boards here, come up with the shot, and it's Edwards who gets Eric Anderson, and that's a good call because Anderson's hands come across, breaks that plane of verticality, if you will, that Edwards had. He now looking to complete the 3-point play.
3 fouls on Anderson.
Again, you see foul shooting has been a bit of Achilles' heels for Florida State.
Bailey outside for Chaney.
If Indiana's allowed to play this kind of basketball, they're tough to beat because they get percentage shots and they shoot about 50%. And you leave Calvert Chaney open for a 3-pointer. He'll drill those all day.
And Pat Kennedy wants timeout. Charlie Ward spins around and asks for time with 10:21 to play. It's Indiana right now.
Back at the pit, if you think facing Indiana is a tough assignment, you should see Florida State's test schedule for next week. Last night, less than 24 hours before the biggest game of the season, the Florida State Seminoles had a study hall at their hotel. Win or lose here, it is back to reality on Monday. Now, earlier we mentioned Andre Reed's poor free throw shooting percentage. Well, Greg, you'll be happy to know last night he was too busy to work on that. He was studying computer programming. Back to you guys.
Quinn was busy studying the TV guide.
Thank you very much. You know, we talk often about how these young men have to get themselves prepared to play basketball, but that gives you an idea of what they need to do on the road. It's hard to concentrate on a basketball game when you got studies and vice versa, but you can see Florida State makes an effort. They bring their academic advisors and set time aside because Florida State has to go back, and some of these guys have exams to take, so they get some study time here.
Edwards fouled by Calbert Chaney, hits the first of 2.
And the discussion was about how Edwards gets 2 shots because it did not look as though he was in position to shoot the basketball, as you see the free throw disparity. And the official gave him 2 shots. They felt he was in the act of shooting.
FSU now 5 for 12 from the line. That isn't going to win you any basketball games at crunch time.
See Florida State coming out playing more aggressive because they didn't really stop that, Greg. They were not very aggressive. Back in man-to-man, they'll trap you a little bit, and then if you beat the trap, they'll come back into man-to-man.
Chaney calling for the ball down low. Bailey open. Tapped out of bounds to Florida State.
That's a good call by the official. Bob Knight is up asking about it, as you can see the Kentucky score, but that's a good call by the official. Chaney knocked it down. Bailey never got the ball set in his hand. He threw it at the basket.
coming up on 9.5 to play in the game. And Cheney with the takeaway.
That's Greg Graham that got that takeaway. Graham is the guy that normally plays very good defense. He'll come up with ways to get you still.
Chuck Graham with the ball.
Now, Indiana's starting to get into a pace that's more like Florida State. They've come down 2 successive times and on one pass, taking a shot.
Sura with a nice drive, but couldn't get it to go. And here comes Graham.
Now, he's going to get that one in because he's a good athlete. I thought he'd dunk it.
Greg Graham fouled by Chuck Graham. And that's 4 on Chuck Graham.
Well, you see right here, tough shot to get off there by Sura. He tries to get it up. But Anderson keeps it alive, and once he keeps it alive, Cheney looks out, and he finds Graham, and there's no way to get there and cut him off. And in trying to do so, Graham, also a great jumper, didn't realize that Greg Graham could jump. And you see the disappointment on the face just a moment ago of Chuck Graham.
69-53 Indiana.
Florida State does not have to try to score, 3 points or 4 points in one possession. All they need to do is be patient. There's a lot of time in this game, and you see on one pass, they put it up again.
Ward going for the steal, committed the foul.
Greg, this kid is quick. I mean, he was backpedaling, and before you knew it, he had that one that was gone.
That's number 3 on Ward.
Well, you can see the strength of their team has been the guard play. And they've got 2 of their guards with 3 fouls. They've got 1 with 4 in Cassell, and he's just come back in the game.
Graham also with 4 has just taken a seat on the bench. And now Alan Henderson for Calbert Cheney.
You see, Indiana came back at the start of the half with their old lineup. They came back with Anderson and Meeks in the starting lineup. So Henderson, who had been in foul trouble, had not really been a factor. It just goes to show you that a lot of those players on the Indiana bench are interchangeable.
So Indiana now with Chris Reynolds, Damon Bailey, Greg Graham, Eric Anderson, and Alan Henderson on the floor. And it's 72-53. 71-53.
Wait a minute, all that good math you use?
Believe me, I went nowhere on a math scholarship. Cassell for the baseline. Oh, what a smooth player, Sam Cassell.
I'm telling you, he's got a touch, and he's been playing some 2 guard, but he plays it with the 1 guard's sight. He knows where people are, and I'm clever with the basketball. The tough part about playing a team like Indiana is they'll be patient and normally. So when they're ahead, you just don't get the easy kind of steals from them because they'll just be patient with the basketball.
Bailey. Nice move inside. Shot didn't fall for him, and here comes Edwards. Edwards for 3. Oh, shot.
He's got a big time stroke. You've got to recover back to him, and even though he's out there at 6'9", you don't think he can play. This guy's got some skill.
Edwards has 18, and it's 71-58.
Florida State wise is still in the man-to-man because they can't get anything out of their zone defense. They don't create turnovers, so they can make it. This way they make sure they put pressure on the shooters.
Indiana recovers the loose ball. Anderson to the basket, doesn't go for him, and Reed has the rebound. 3-on-1 for Florida State. Sura waited a little too long, but he'll go to the free throw line. And welcome to all of you who have been watching University of Kentucky advance. Greg Gumbel, Quinn Buckner, Andrea Joyce here at the Pit in Albuquerque. 6:54 to play in the game. Indiana a 71-58 leader right now, and Florida State University looking to make a run, but they have foul problems.
They have foul problems, Greg, but Indiana, again, started out slow, and then all of a sudden they got going on the offense. The 22 points by Eric Anderson was a big pop off the bench. That got them back in their offensive flow, and then after that, they were able to get some buckets off the press, and when you're able to get some buckets off the press, the real strength of Florida State is how they create turnovers. They didn't get enough against Indiana, and now they're trying to play catch-up. Indiana doing a good job of getting the foul shots, but here lately, Florida State is making a run.
Florida State has scored the last 8 points and have pulled to within 11 with 6:45 to play. Remind you, Duke Seton Hall still to come out of the East Regional tonight. 10:07 will be tip-off time at Philadelphia.
Indiana has got themselves in a position I consider pretty tough. You get around 6 minutes and you're trying to protect the lead the way they're playing now. It is really difficult. You see, that's a tough shot to take. He shoots an air ball, this Greg Graham, but you become protective instead of aggressive with a lead like this. You got to keep going after the basket.
Cassell, top of the key, didn't go for him.
This is when your seniors need to take over. You've got to have good guard play, and your seniors need to be one of those guys because they know how difficult it is to maintain a lead like this.
Top of the key, Calvin Chaney nails it. Chaney has 13.
And that's a big hoop because it breaks a dry spell. Takes the pressure off the next shot.
This is Charlie Ward. His presence takes on even more importance now. Outside, Ward. And Henderson with 4 fouls comes down with the rebound.
Oh, good setup. Good setup. Oh, great defense by Sura.
Sura took it away. 3-on-1. Edwards.
Great defense. That was an automatic basket, 4-point swing.
And Doug Edwards has 20. Indiana's lead is 12 as we come up on 5 minutes to play.
Indiana has just beaten the 10-second count twice. They're going to get caught with that because, again, they're not being aggressive at the basket.
Chaney fouled by Edwards as he made his move. And that's number 2 on Doug Edwards. Let's take a look at Bob Sura's defense again.
You push the ball down, you think you got numbers. You see Sura gets a hand on the ball. Indiana anticipating an easy basket. Greg Graham not getting back. A good push-up and the finish by Edwards. Great defense on the part of Sura. He's going to get a little bit of a break.
Sura is going to take a rest, and onto the floor now. Rodney Dobard, number 34. And number 4, Chuck Graham, back into Pat Kennedy's lineup.
He's going to try to get a little more defense in there. There's quickness with Graham, with Dobard to get somebody that can rebound and block some shots. So they've got to be able to convert some block shots and or turnovers into an opportunity to score on the other end.
Points for Calvert Chaney, who has come alive here in the second half.
Great scores you can't keep down. It was inevitable he'd come alive. But Eric Anderson having that big first half makes that available for Calvert Chaney because you're looking for Anderson to score the points and forgetting about Chaney and left him open, and you know that he can drill him given time.
4:50 to play. Indiana's lead is 14. Graham fouled. And that'll be 3 free throws.
Well, that's a bad play. You've got a guy shooting a 3-point shot. You don't get out there and foul him.
That's 2 on Chaney.
Well, guys come out and they shoot. And if they're away from the basket, you don't foul them. You just try to get a hand up. You see on the left side of the screen, there's no question about it, on the elbow for Calvert Chaney, and why he's looking at the official for help, I have no idea. You don't need any help for that. That's a bad play.
Indiana just crushing Florida State at the free throw line.
They forced Florida State into man-to-man, Greg, because Indiana didn't get any turnovers. So what had to happen was you have to play a man-to-man, and Indiana knows how to get picks and get pop and get open. As you see Jim Herrick, the UCLA coach here, scouting what may be his next opponent, assuming they beat New Mexico State.
Bob Knight somewhat calm with 4:41 to play.
You know, he has been that way as a rule, more so lately, where he's been patient with teams. And, you know, people ask, is he calmer than he used to be? Yeah, he's more mature. And he's probably seen the majority of these situations more so now than he had when he was 32, 33, when I was in school. So that has something to do with it.
4.5 to play. Indiana's lead is 11. Meeks, Reynolds, Bailey, Cheney, and Henderson on the floor for the Hoosiers. Cheney.
That's a move. He didn't make the basket, but when a man goes down, that's a move.
And let's see if Florida State can make it pay off.
It's tough because the guy they would rather give the ball to is the guy on the other side. As you see Dobart get it down. So they got it down to 9 with just under 4 minutes to play. It's a game.
Dobart gets his first basket of the night, and it reduces Indiana's lead to single digits.
Indiana is starting to stand around, and if they stand around, they're in trouble because if it's a race to the ball, Florida State will get there before Indiana every time.
Bailey. You hear the official yelling pass. Bailey was not in the act of shooting.
That's one of the plays Damon Bailey's got to learn. You go to the basket, you hear the whistle, don't all of a sudden start to pass it, even if you know intuitively it's the right thing to do, because once you hear the whistle, you know there's a foul. You need to get the active shooting call so you can get 2 foul shots instead of the ball going out, where at this point you get the one in a bonus. Florida State actually has 10, so he gets the 2. But the point is, if you hear the whistle, throw it at the basket.
It's a nice habit to develop.
Yes.
Bit of the Quinn Buckner fan club on hand tonight. And Bob Knight's wife in the center of your picture. Karen knows her basketball. Bailey makes it a 10-point lead. 3:36 to play at the pit. We'll be back. Gumble along with Quinn Buckner, number 1 seeded UCLA, will be playing against New Mexico State in game 2 here. And most of you coming up shortly will see Seton Hall against the number 1 seed in the East, Duke. How tough is it for a defending champ to try and repeat?
Well, it's extremely difficult because all of a sudden everybody is shooting at you and they know your tendencies. But I tell you what, Seton Hall is a team that can make some things happen. They've got Terry here. They can go up and down the line. It's not a gimme for Duke, I can tell you that.
Not a gimme for Indiana either, as Sam Cassell hit the three-pointer, and Indiana's lead is 7.
That's what the three-pointer has done to this game, and I think it's wonderful because you're never really out of it.
3 minutes to play.
Indiana has to be careful here because Florida State can lull you into just moving instead of moving with purpose, and Florida State will get to the ball should their one come loose.
Indiana's shot clock now at 10.
And he doesn't even see the clock.
And now Graham with the long shot, doesn't go. Rebound off to the Seminoles. Here's Cassell facing up on Bailey. Cassell. And he's no. The jump ball is called, and the possession arrow favors Florida State. Bobby Sura reached in and grabbed the ball.
Well, I thought that was going to be a rebound for Indiana, a pretty easy one, because it was a difficult shot taken by Cassell, but they were able to get possession with Florida State staying after the basketball, and Indiana's falling asleep.
Inbound pass works to perfection for Charlie Ward.
Well, that is just a lack of concentration on the part of Indiana, and that's what I was talking about with movement.
Hoosiers by 5. 2 minutes to play.
They're playing not to lose here, Greg. Indiana is making a mistake. They've got to move around, get themselves open. If you get the shot, it's in your rhythm. You got to take it.
And that's a foul by Doug Edwards out front. That's number 3 on Edwards.
Not a good play by Edwards, because the problem that you have is you put one of your top foul shooters, one of the top foul shooters for Indiana on the line, and you don't necessarily want to do that. You've been able to play good defense at Florida State, so you don't need to put anybody on the line. You just need to hold defensively, get the rebound, and go down and score.
Eric Anderson, as you mentioned, a good free throw shooter, 81% on the season. Chuck Graham back on the floor for the Seminoles, replacing Bob Sura.
Pat Kennedy doing a good job keeping his troops fresh.
He's also juggling players with 4 personal fouls. Cassell, Graham, and Sura all with 4 each.
I've got to tell you, for a senior, that's a play he's got to make. You see he has a season high 23 points, but that foul shot he's got to make, because all of the underclassmen look to seniors to try to give them some leadership. You get fouled, you got to make those, and now the other guys can relax a little bit, knowing they have a place to turn in case of trouble.
Indiana up by 7.
I'd watch out for Sam Cassell, because you know he can create his own shot.
This is Cassell. Inside, out of bounds to Indiana.
Oh, I thought that was Florida State. I thought we had one going on there.
And Bobby Sura back onto the floor. Cassell will take a quick break.
You're right, there's protection of fouls there, but you also keep your offensive player sitting down on defensive transitions or possessions if you can.
Whistle blows, and that's on Ward. That is number 4 on Ward, so Ward joins the 4 personals club.
Yeah, but Florida State's got to do a better job of playing defense without fouling. They've gotten good possessions defensively when they just play straight up. That's the second time. The last time you had Eric Anderson shoot it, now you got Damon Bailey.
Cassell in, Graham out. Bailey, the sophomore, missed the first.
Normally about a 70% foul shooter. Damon Bailey is a guy that had a lot of pressure on him, I think. You know, you think about this, coming out of elementary school, people are saying how great you are because of the book that was written about Coach Bob Knight. And this kid has to live up to it and then come back and get to the college he wants to get to. And he's changing position. He had to change position and learn how to play. That'd be difficult. It'd be tough for me. I don't know about you. I know you can do some things I can't.
Thanks, Quinn.
I knew you'd like that.
A minute 10. Edwards, 3-pointer. Way off the mark. And Meeks leads a 2-on-1 now and will bring it back out and slow it down. Out of bounds to Indiana.
On that play, Meeks has got to make a quicker decision. He made the decision almost too far to the baseline as to whether to bring it out or not. If you're looking at Bob Knight, you see the Seton Hall Duke score. You know, there's been this conversation about this banquet. And I asked Bob Knight about it. And what happened with the banquet was he had on a list some things he wanted done. And one of them was this banquet. As you see, a great steal by Sura.
Sura going to take the 3.
Oh, if it goes in, that's a great play, but that's a chancy play to take. But as I was saying about the banquet, he had a list of things to do. And granted, the loss to Purdue was a thing that exacted him to make the reaction. And it was one that was a totally reactionary situation. And if he had to do it over again, he would change the timing. But he has never liked the banquet. When I asked him, you know, would you change it? Yeah, I changed the timing, but I wouldn't change the thought of having the banquet. Now, I don't argue with that. I would do it differently. I would have waited and done it entirely differently. But Bob Knight didn't exactly call me up and ask me what I thought about the whole situation.
Doug Edwards committed his 4th personal foul. And here's Greg Graham. Remember, Duke, Seton Hall coming up. Our second game here in the pit. New Mexico State, UCLA. And a timeout on the floor with 37.4 to play. Indiana in control. Leads it with 37.4 to play. Our Chevrolet players of the game: Doug Edwards of Florida State with 22 points. Eric Anderson of Indiana with a season-high 24. And are there some creative people here or what?
I think that's great.
Graham, three-pointer out of the corner, doesn't fall. And Calvert Chaney with a big rebound.
That was a big rebound is right. I mean, he got up. I haven't seen him get up like that in a while.
And Sam Cassell just pulled his 50th personal foul.
Yeah, he didn't have much choice. They've got to try to stop the clock to get something to happen. But as you and I had talked about during the course of the game, foul shooting was going to be one of the things that I thought would determine this game, because you could tell just on baskets alone, these two teams were scoring at about the same rate.
And there goes one exciting ball player to watch, Sam Cassell.
Well, guess what? He'll be back. And that's what's got to have the ACC concerned. You know, they get their lineup back.
Pat Kennedy has one senior on the roster, and it was Ron Miller, who is not here due to an ankle sprain. .16 for Calvert Chaney as Indiana goes about icing this one from the free throw line.
We were worried about Charlie Ward playing. I mean, he showed up here. I guess his shoulder might have been bothering him a little bit on that one. No, I don't think so, though.
Great. And Graham puts the exclamation point on an Indiana victory. Wells' three-pointer doesn't go, and Graham follows, and that'll do it.
And Indiana got the tempo to be their kind of game. They had stopped the clock, and it's over. But the tempo was the key. Indiana didn't turn it over with the pressure, and not turning it over allowed them to get an 85-76-74 victory.
Indiana 85, Florida State 74. Indiana moves on to the regional championship here Saturday against the winner of the game still to come. Top-seeded UCLA and 12th seed New Mexico State. Once again, 85-74, Indiana wins it. Let's send you back to New York and Pat O'Brien.
All right, Pat O'Brien back in our New York studio. These guys are loaded with things to talk about. Mike Francesa and Bill Raftery coming up, of course, at 10:07 tonight, the big game, Seton Hall and defending champions Duke. That'll be next year on CBS. Some of you will see New Mexico State and UCLA. That starts about 30 minutes from now, but the next game on your screen will be Duke and Seton Hall. And, well, can Duke get beat tonight?
I think that this is one of the real obstacles for them in the tournament, Pat. I think that Raf feels it'll be a very close game. And Seton Hall, a team that I think is still a year away, Raf, but if their guards play well, under control, can make this a very tough ball game.
You've been picking them all year long, right? I think balancing the floor is a key here and resetting the offense. Don't unload. Make sure you get back. And you might see some different things like putting out the fire or jamming Bobby Hurley so they can't start the break. But Seton Hall, defense essential, and the type of shots they take.
Do you catch good teams on a night like this, or do you catch them later?
You can catch them anytime, Pat, but usually teams like Duke don't lose to the Final Four.
All right, and the road to the Final Four will continue here on CBS after a word from your local stations. Stay with us.
They come from China, from Thailand, from England, Germany, France, and Australia. Every 4 years, the Olympic Games bring people together, just as we do, every day, united. Come fly the airline that's uniting the world. Come fly the friendly skies.